Katherine Garcia is the director of the Clean Transportation for All campaign at the Sierra Club. We're going to talk about these new EPA rules. But first, Katherine, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, John. It's great to meet you.
Well, as you know, the EPA is about to propose new standards that address fuel economy, but really what we're getting at here is greenhouse gas emissions. It is something that the stricter rules that have been talked about are something obviously that the auto industry opposes. Sounds like even the Biden administration is giving them something of a sympathetic ear. How do you read the situation right now?
Yeah, well, this is really what we've been working towards since the start of the Biden administration. You know, from day one, he said he was going to reduce climate emissions, and the EPA has a role to play in that. So in 2021, they set the short-term standards, which reduced emissions from fossil fuel vehicles and really helped accelerate in the short-term way more electric vehicles on the road. And now what we're doing right now is getting ready for the EPA to finalize the next round of long-term GHG standards. And we feel that strong clean car standards will help drive America towards a healthier future, really getting at those harmful, toxic emissions that are harmful for air quality and also driving down carbon emissions. Which is, you know, impacting us right now with the climate crisis.
As you know, the proposed rules, at least the initial ones that came out, would indicate that the auto industry, would have to hit 67% EV share of market by 2032, and they're just saying that's just not going to happen. The Biden administration has indicated it might give them some wiggle room, maybe a little. What are you hearing?
Yeah, well, I don't want to speculate on what the rules are going to be. We're still anticipating them, and we're actually expecting the final rules this month. So we're very eager to see how strong the rule is. But we know that, you know, Biden has signaled that we are going to reduce carbon emissions. And we know that the automakers have invested. You know, the Inflation Reduction Act, which is incredible investment on everything from clean energy jobs to clean auto manufacturing, setting up factories, setting up battery factories here in the US. All of that is propelling us forward. So we're excited to see the final rule, and this is really going to the Inflation Reduction Act and these GHG standards are really going to work together to help us move forward to cleaner cars.
As you know, the issue that the auto industry has right now is that the growth rate in EV sales is not what it was just a year or two ago. It is slowed down considerably. I think if it had kept that growth rate, they would not be as worried. The car companies probably would not be as worried about how much market share EVs will have in 2032. Now they're extremely concerned about that.
You know, I would push back on that a little bit. The reaction that the automakers have is the same reaction that they had last spring when Administrator Regan announced the rules. And then what happened, we actually saw extreme growth in electric vehicles. It was for the first time we hit over 1 million sales in 2023. So I think the auto industry is pushing back because they want to get to electric vehicles on their own terms. I think that they are feeling some pressure, and they're trying to some of them are trying to keep the status quo, and some of them just want to slow walk the pace a little bit. And so they're pointing to things like charging infrastructure, which we are rolling out. You know, the Sierra Club is extremely involved in advocating for utilities and states to invest in electric vehicle charging. So I know we'll get there. These are long-term rules. They impact model year 27 and go all the way to 2032. So I'm optimistic that we're going to see strong rules that will make a significant change in how electric vehicles move forward, and also reducing emissions so that we reach our air quality and climate goals.
Katherine, as you know, unfortunately, EVs have become politicized. For whatever reasons, they've become politicized. And roughly half, certainly 40%, maybe as much as 50% of the car buying public wants nothing to do with them. And, they think that EVs are stupid. They think the government's trying to shove them down their throat, and they want nothing to do with them. So how can you be optimistic that we're going to see such an increase in market share by 2032?
Yeah, so Sierra Club is actually a partner with several other organizations on initiatives like Drive Electric Earth Month and National Drive Electric Day. And this is a great opportunity to go out to events, community events, talk to EV drivers. There's many EV drivers that love their EVs, and they're telling their neighbors and their friends and their family members, these are great cars to drive. They have great performance. They save me money. I'm not going to the gas station. And so, I think that there's a learning curve. We've reached out to the early adopters, but these events, these community events, there's going to be about 200 that are coming up in the month of April. These are great ways of meeting drivers that have, they've tackled the road trip in an EV. They know about how to installing charging in their homes. Many of them charge at home. About 80% of EV drivers charge at home, and we are going to get there. I'm optimistic.
Well, look, you're kind of preaching to the choir when you talk to me about this. One of the great things about my job is I get to test drive all different kinds of cars, ICE as well as BEV. And I think the BEV products out there are terrific. But that's me. When I talk to people as I drive around, people want to know about the cars that I'm driving. Some people are vehemently opposed to electrics. I mean, it's not like they're skeptical or want to see more development. They don't want them at all.
Yeah, I've taken some road trips and talked to folks in supermarket parking lots, and just when I talk to people, they're interested. They want to know how it drives. They want to test drive it. So it's just a matter of talking to as many people as possible.
I hope you're right on that. Others in the auto industry too feel that the auto industry is being unfairly burdened with regulation when it comes to fighting GHGs. Light vehicles account for roughly 14% of all GHGs generated in the US economy. And yet the auto industry is bearing the burden of addressing the GHG issue. Does the Sierra Club have any positions on other sectors of the industry, of the economy rather? Agriculture, buildings, industry, even other parts of the transportation sector, aircraft, ships, trains, none of which are facing the same kind of regulatory burden the automotive industry is?
I know that there are many industries that are feeling a little bit of pressure to electrify, reduce emissions. We actually are involved in a campaign to get cleaner steel and aluminum. So from heavy industry, we're trying to reduce emissions in that respect. Our building electrification team is really amplifying the incentives that are available to electrify homes, to get solar panels and heat pumps. So there is a lot of pressure. It's not just the autos, and we're everywhere. The Sierra Club has a huge team that's working to advance clean energy, clean transportation in order to reach our climate goals. One thing I'll add, though, is the auto industry has known that they've been producing polluting vehicles for decades. The oil industry is behind a lot of the negative messaging as well. They have had huge ad buys leading up to the rule. The oil industry knows that they're backed into a corner and that their product is going to be obsolete, not today, but soon. And now with new models of EVs that are coming forward, frankly, we've waited long enough. They know that they need to act. And every year we're seeing intense wildfires, huge rainfall that is causing frequent floods. These heat waves are just unmistakable. The meteorologists are pointing to this is climate change, and this is causing billions of dollars in disasters. So what we're seeing is these rules, these standards that are coming from EPA, they are going to save us in the long term money that we would pay on recovery from extreme weather events, and also for health. You know, these toxic pollutants that are going into our air, they are in fact causing asthma, they're causing premature death, especially if you live in areas that are high traffic corridors. So
right, but
things
the
need to
EPA
change.
the EPA rules will only address 14% of the problem. And even though other industries are under pressure, none of them face the regulations with the timelines and the tens of billions of dollars of investment that the auto industry faces. And that's why there are those in the industry who are saying, hey, we don't mind doing our part, but we're carrying the whole load here. No other industry faces the amount of regulation, the timeline, and the money invested that we're doing.
So there's been a legacy of standards that have regulated the the auto industry. They've known that this is coming, and they've had decades to prepare for it.
Well, what do you think is going to happen with the EPA? I know you said you didn't want to speculate, but you know, we're in the throes of a presidential campaign right now. Former President Trump is saying he's going to wipe out all these rules if he gets elected. And I've got to believe the Biden administration is going to react in some way to that. And again, it's, as I said earlier, unfortunately, EVs have become politicized.
Yeah, you know, it is unfortunate that they've become politicized, but we are seeing growth in EV adoption in every state. And it's not just red states, it's not just blue states. We're seeing charging infrastructure everywhere. So no matter what happens in November, we are going to move towards electric vehicles.
Okay, Katherine, thanks so much for giving us your viewpoint, or this Sierra Club's viewpoint on where this might go.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.